we are rolling. Shall we just dive right in?
Sure.
Hey, good morning. This is WJHS 91.5. I'm Jordan Glaza, the media teacher here at Columbia City High School. Feeling a little bit pollinated today, but we're going to make it through it. With us, our guest for the school board report, it's Dr. Laura McDermott. How are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So, school board meeting was last night. It was kind of there's some topics talked about. Where did you want to begin today and just kind of adding your 2 cents in and sharing with the community and those listening from the school what was all happening in and around Whitley County Consolidated Schools?
So the biggest part of last night's meeting was a celebration. May is always an opportunity for us to celebrate our retirees. You know, those that have put in 25, 30, sometimes 40 years.
I am always impressed by this. Always impressed by this. You look at some of the staff and you go, "Whoa, wow, okay, I did not know. Ronald Reagan was president when you were hired on." and in a lot of ways, it's a compliment to the staff. It's also a compliment for work environments that change, adapt, that you find roles for people that they fall in love with, or the role adapts. Changing at times. A lot's happened since Ronald Reagan. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it was interesting, too, because, you know, we celebrated teacher retirements. We had, of course, our district head nurse retired, Sandy Cohut. We celebrated her last night. I know. We're going to miss every single one of them. And it was so great just to have that time to just recap their careers a little bit, you know, share personal information about them that maybe people didn't know, and just what are you going to be doing when you retire? What are you going to be doing with your time? And of course, they all had all kinds of things lined up, exciting.
Mrs. Cohut alone.
Yes.
I have a story to tell if we have time. First introduction to her.
You know, just listening to some of them, Heidi Moreno is retiring, and she talked about all the people that she's taught, you know, for have been her former students, or mayor, and an animated film person, and, you know, just everybody that's been in her classroom, and just how much it's meant to her to have her colleagues beside her through all of her hard times, and how much she has enjoyed being that person for other people. And just, I don't know, it just was a really wonderful evening. To Stacy Foreman Hillsmeyer talked about all of her rescue dogs and how much she enjoys that. And so it was just a really nice evening, a nice time to share.
I can't speak on everyone's behalf, but one story from Mrs. Sandy Cohut, the nurse, both here, of course, at the high school, and travels around to the other buildings as needed. Wonderful at their job. My mother's been a nurse her career, so I see the insights. I know some of the details, not everything, but I was so impressed when I was a brand new teacher. I was, of course, working at the old school building, in the radio station there, had my office, and I had a class period off. And so, longtime sponsor of Morsh's Builders Mart, I went to call them, and to get out of the building, you have to dial 9 to get out of the building. Well, I had not noticed that I had hit the 9 button on the phone twice before going to dial 260, dialed 1 to go long distance, basically, and the phone. And so I had accidentally dialed, apparently, 911 to get out of the building, or so I thought. And before I hung up the phone, realizing I'd clearly punched in the number wrong, Sandy was in my face. She had come down the hall. She got the call, emergency phone-wise. She was checking on me. I did not realize what I had done or why there was this lady I barely knew. We had just met, and she was like crawling over the desk at me, basically. And to this day, my compliment to her professionalism, the speed of that. She's trying to check my pulse, looking at my pupils, like, what happens to 40-year-old men sitting in offices by themselves? They have heart attacks. So my compliments, like, before I'd even literally hung up the phone, realizing my own mistake, she was already down the hall in my room, had found me through, if you remember, just off the library, there was the studios, but off the studios were 3 offices, and then the classroom, and then the other classroom. So she had weaved her way through the building that quickly. Granted, it was probably I had not had my coffee yet or something like that, but my compliments to Sandy, just to share one little story of hopefully not dozens like that, but dozens across the staff of little times where you show up for your coworkers, you show up for your students, and all of a sudden it really is Whitley County community schools that you're here for the people.
It definitely is. And,
thank you, Sandy.
That came through several of the comments that our retirees made. Carol Weinbrenner, she's the secretary for the special ed department, and she talked a lot about how important all the relationships with her colleagues were. And Sue Corbin, same thing. She's special ed assistant director. And just every single one of them, how important, and that's what they'll miss the most are their relationships with the people here. And, not just their coworkers, but everyone that they deal with. So, yeah, it was really nice. It was really special. So that's always
I look forward to a big story swap. I look forward to it. And congratulations to our retirees. May your future be full, and know that you're always welcome back, right?
Absolutely. Yes, we're already signing them up to do things.
That's fun. That's fun. Moving on with the school board report, we have, of course, lots happens, Whitley County Consolidated Schools. What's one other thing you would like to talk about, Laura?
Well, we also had Brandy Krause came, and she brought along with her just a whole group of people. So she is coaching our new archery club. And so she has 16 middle school students and 20 high school students. Now, this is a brand new club that just started this year. And they're already winning awards in the competitions that they participate in. We have one high school student, and I'm sorry I didn't bring.
I believe his name's Austin.
Okay, took first place
yeah.
in some of the competitions. And these guys, some of them first time they've picked up, the bow and arrow and all of that kind of thing. And so they're doing a great job, and they practice. They've also already not rented because it's free to them, but taking over will be taking over the Marshall Gym this summer so they can continue to practice.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the competitions are both a combination of accuracy and timing, and it's more and simpler and more complex at the same time in the competitions that they shoot in for archery competition.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And to listen to them talk about it, the one gentleman that I brought up before, he's Austin Baldridge. If you're listening, hello. He describes it, and he talks about, like, for me, it's just a bow and an arrow and a target, but for him, he's like describing trajectory and the spin of the earth, and like it's very it's in depth for him that makes his brain switch on. And Austin, forgive me if I'm giving you credit for going to state. I believe it was this young man that comes by and visits my room and has a little podcast, and he talks about it at another level compared to just my familiarity with it. So apparently it switches his juices to get him going, and I think it's really fun. And 14 shows long-term interest through middle schoolers coming up into the high school.
Absolutely. And it just, they talked about it's something that they're passionate about, and they weren't involved in other extracurriculars. So it's always exciting to see something engaging another group of students that haven't previously been engaged in something. So that's fun. Exciting. Yeah, yeah. And then we talked about updating school and district handbooks. So there's some really important updates in there. So parents will want to make sure to pay attention and read through those updates.
Changes are important. They're adapting the school life and what we expect the students in the classrooms.
And that's all in response to new legislation. So like cell phones in the fall will be off limits.
That was kind of a big one. But it's kind of a huge one.
Big one. Because it's not just that they're on silent, but they're off unless given explicit permission from a teacher for instructional purposes. So that'll be a big one that a lot of people will get, unless they're paying attention, will get in trouble. They'll lose their cell phones over.
Maybe we should send them a notification on their phones. Sorry. Jokes aside. No, it's for the best of the education environment, for the best for the kids, for the best for the school system as well. I think that's definitely something, recognizing what is different this generation compared to previous generations of students.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we talked about, so they approved an update to the calendar for the upcoming school year, 24-25.
Changing a couple of days around.
So what happens is we were granted a state waiver for 5 days. So instead of attending 180 days, will attend 175 days. Because students actually come more than they need to by state statute. So we decreased student days by 5 days so that we can use those 5 days for professional development for teachers and paras and.
I had not realized the students over planned to attend extra days. I imagine that's useful in certain circumstances, but it allows Whitley County Consolidated Schools to be flexible for staff purposes. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So we're going to capture some of those and embed some PD time.
Professional development.
That's right. So that calendar will be published today and again, and sent out more broadly. So parents just need to kind of pay attention because there'll be some days that their kiddos won't be coming to school next year. And
we can finally take the entire staff bowling. I'm kidding.
Yeah. And then we we'll have a new virtual school opening this fall under WCCS auspices. So this
I have not heard about at all. A new virtual school.
Yes.
This is fun.
Eagle View Online.
Okay.
So it's for grades K-12. We're targeting just those students that live within our attendance area who are attending a virtual school outside our attendance area.
Okay.
So we're hoping to bring those kiddos back to Whitley County schools. So their parents pay taxes here,
right,
and that would then allow them to take advantage of all the great programs we have here, athletic and otherwise.
More options to roll in those who are living in the area, but not necessarily taking advantage of Whitley County's offerings, which is fun. Okay.
Correct.
And one more time, what's the name of that, just in case I remember?
Eagle View Online.
Eagle View Online. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised I had not heard about that. I do have a couple of former students who now enroll online, but I guess I'll have questions asking them, hey, are you attending Eagle View Online or another? Because, of course, it's their choice ultimately.
Right.
But great to have options. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and they'll be getting anyone that is living in our attendance area attending virtual schools outside will be getting a mailer and information relative to that. So
okay,
they just need to watch out for that. And I think that's really, just a reminder of the graduation.
Yes, of course. Coming up the 14th.
Yes.
You do want to have tickets to attend because, man, they pack that place. But it's a good way. The community shows up. It's that ritualistic ceremony of passing from being a student onto further, bigger, better things for many young adults. And they're still kids. But man, it is fun to see them kind of wear the schmucks with kind of pride and all the excitement and jitters that happens around that. And some are very ready for it. Here we are, less than 10 days, 8 days left of school as of the time.
Imagine?
Oh man. There's a couple of big projects that we're still winding down with in a few of my classes. A couple of my classes are also we've been teaching video courses. We've gotten to let them make more selections in their final projects And it's fun to see what some kids are coming up with. Perhaps just to share, Dr. Laura, if you walk on the way out of my door, you'll look above the cabinet. There is a miniature Godzilla, probably 2 feet tall, that they used in a movie.
I have to buy my tickets to the Bones Theater. I've got to get my tickets.
Right. So you're talking about a separate item, but so the Godzilla is in the room. Check it out on the way out. It is the coolest thing. It's made of tape, so much tape. They even made buildings, and there was a lot of screeching and yelling in my room, but it was for a movie. And then what you're talking about is the upcoming film festival. Godzilla will not be appearing in, at least, I don't think, not this Godzilla at least. I don't want to ruin anybody else's movie. I don't think any Godzilla will be appearing. But the Eagle Tech Film Festival happening at Bones Theater, that happens actually the last day of classes, the 29th. That's a Wednesday. 6 o'clock at Bones. Tickets are $3. It goes to help those students who accidentally disassemble tripods forcibly by accidentally dropping them and the like. And it's always fun to see the culmination project of students learn about editing, script writing, video creation, and then they try and act and organize 12 other teenagers. And sometimes, I'm not going to lie, it is a hot mess. But sometimes you catch those glimpses of teams working together and you see the final result. And in many ways, they're nervous to put their work on display, but in many ways, they're also excited to like show you what they've been up to. And we have some cool ideas this year. There's a Monopoly themed one. There's a little horror. There's a little comedy. There's a little sadness all thrown in there. I don't want to ruin it too bad, but with the film fest, I just went off on a rant. This is supposed to be your show. The 29th at Bones Theater, of course, you could get tickets with them or get tickets here at Columbia City High School.
It's always a really great show. Always enjoy that.
That said, that voice right there, Dr. Laura McDermott, the superintendent of Whitley County Consolidated Schools. Always great to have you back in the studio after the school board report and kind of our take on things. And sometimes we get to share extra information that wasn't in the school board or, I thought of this later, or things like the virtual school that I had not heard anything about. Even though, working in this environment, there's so much that takes place.
There is. Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. This is WJHS 91.5.